Welcome. Thank you for joining the Canna Advisors webinar, the latest and greatest about the Maryland adult use cannabis application. Lots of new information. Going to try to get as much as possible into as short a period of time. First, let me introduce myself. I'm Bob Wagener. I'm the Vice President of Business Development here at Canna Advisors. I've been with Canna Advisors for almost 8 years now. Prior to that, for the last 20 plus years, I've been in executive positions for companies ranging from startup to companies with over $1 billion in annual revenue, both public and private. Canna Advisors, headquartered in Boulder, Colorado. We also have an office in New York City to service the East Coast. That's where I work out of. For over a decade now, Canna Advisors has been working with clients all across the country, 38 states and internationally, helping people compete for and win cannabis licenses. Simply put, there is no other consulting firm in the cannabis industry that has the longevity, experience, and successful track record of Canna Advisors. Now let's dive into Maryland. Maryland is going to be conducting qualified lottery for their adult use cannabis licenses. What that means is ultimately the winners will be chosen by a random drawing. But to get into that lottery pool, you will need to qualify. And you'll need to meet for this round, September 23, you'll need to meet the social equity requirements and submit some written plans. The lottery will be broken down by license type and region. And when you submit, you will submit for a specific license type within a specific region. Timeline, you'll need to verify a social equity. There's a portal that is opened. It opened on Friday, September 8th, and it stays open through November 7th. You'll need to go to that portal, upload some documents that I'll show you here in a minute, and get verified. Then the application window opens on November 13th and closes on December 13th. In total, there'll be 175 licenses available. How that breaks down is standard licenses, which are larger licenses for larger businesses. There'll be 16 grower licenses, 32 processor licenses, and 75 dispensary licenses. To apply for a standard license, there's a $5,000 application fee. There are also micro businesses, which are really targeted to be smaller, more locally based businesses. There'll be 24 micro grower businesses, 24 micro processor businesses, and 8 micro dispensary businesses in this round. The application fee for a micro business is $1,000. The state is also going to have 10 incubator spaces, which will be facilities where certain micro businesses can qualify to use those facilities. So the lottery will be drawn by geographic region. Standard licenses, they've broken down by county, plus Baltimore City is its own region as well. All the grower licenses, processor licenses, and micro licenses are split evenly between 4 regions: Western, Southern, Central, and Eastern. There's a complete breakdown available at mmcc.maryland.gov. It'll give you the breakdown of the regions as well as how many licenses are available in each. Applicants must designate one license, one region per submission. So you cannot just put into the lottery that you want a standard dispensary. You'll need to put in standard dispensary in which county or Baltimore City that you want to your application to be drawn from. There are also ownership and application restrictions. An individual may only be associated, that means have ownership in, one application per license type. A license type means the size and function of that license. So a standard cultivator is a license type. A micro cultivator is another license type. An individual may only be associated with 2 applications per submission round. So in this round, you could only be on 2 application submissions. The license awards are then subject to ownership control and restrictions. So for example, you could be on a standard cultivation submission and a micro cultivation submission, But if you won both of them, you'd have to choose one. You're not allowed to own two cultivations. So the first requirement to get into this lottery is social equity. This round is specifically for social equity applicants. There will be another round next year for non-social equity applicants, and they'll release details in May of 24 about that round. A social equity applicant is an entity with at least 65% ownership and control by one or more individuals that meet one of three social equity criteria. The first social equity criteria is having lived in a disproportionately impacted area. And I'm going to give you a link to a list of those. A disproportionately impacted area for 5 of the last 10 years. And that's immediately preceding this application process. So it can't be 5 years, 10 years ago, 5 of the last 10. That's one way. Another way is if you attended a public school for 5 years within a disproportionately impacted area. The third way to qualify is if for at least 2 years you attended a 4-year institution of higher education in Maryland, where at least 40% of the students qualified or were eligible for Pell Grants. Social equity verification documentation. So it's not enough to just say you meet that. You're going to have to provide documentation to prove it. For living in a disproportionately impacted area, you'll need to provide 2 or more of the following: a residential lease, mortgage, loan, or housing authority records, or driver's license or other government ID, or W-2 1099 from an employer with your name and address, or bank credit card or utility statement with your name and address, or court records with your name and address. So you'll need to provide 2 from 2 of those different categories. To qualify as attending a school in a disproportionately impacted area, you'll need to get your transcripts or other school records that prove you attended that school for those years. Same for the colleges or universities. You'll need to get transcripts or school records showing you were there for 2 years. And there's only 6 universities in Maryland that meet that criteria. They're listed on the screen now. You'll go to OSE, Office of Social Equity, .maryland.gov. They have a map of all of the disproportionately impacted areas. They have a list of all the qualifying public schools. And this is very important. You must verify a social equity prior to the application window. On that website, there's a portal. You go to it, you upload your documents, they verify that you qualify, and that's what's going to allow you to submit the rest of your application. In addition to qualifying as social equity, you will need to submit 3 different plans: an operational plan, a business plan, and a diversity plan. The operational plan will include details such as security and diversion plans, quality control, testing plans, product plans, recall plans, records and inventory plans, advertising and marketing plans, training, packaging, and labeling. And it's important to note what they're looking for here is that you know what you're doing and that you understand the state regulations. When they mention they're looking for a marketing plan, for example, they're not looking for some well thought out plan, very creative of how you're going to market your business. They want to know that you understand the marketing regulations and that you're going to stay within those regulations. So it's super important that before you write any of these plans, you read and understand all of the state regulations. If you write something into one of your plans that violates the regulations, you're likely to get a failing grade and not make it into the lottery. After the operational plan, you need a business plan. And the business plan is more focused on you, your team, and what's going to make you successful. They're looking for the likelihood of success here. So in this one, you'll focus on what's going to make you different, what your past business experience is, how you plan to make this particular business successful. And then in the diversity plan, they're typically looking for 2 things: how you're going to promote diversity within and outside of your organization. So you'll need to have hiring practices and talk about what you're going to do internally to promote diversity. And then you'll also want company-wide diversity goals, such as maintaining a supply chain that represents the diversity of the state of Maryland. Canna Advisors has been putting together operational plans, business plans, and diversity plans for over a decade now. We can write these in a manner that are going to meet the state regulations and meet the requirements to make it into the lottery. So how can Canna Advisors help you in this effort? Really falls into two categories: pre-lottery and post-lottery. Pre-lottery, we can provide general guidance. We have done qualified lotteries in other states successfully. So we can help if you have questions about what you should be doing when and how to navigate it, we can provide guidance. And then we can provide material specifically designated and written for Maryland that will meet the state requirements for the operating plan, business plan, diversity plan. Then there's post-lottery. Post-lottery, if your name is drawn, there will be additional materials that are required before you get your operational license, and Canna Advisors can help you pull that together. And then certainly, as you get into the build out and startup of your business, we can help make sure you do that successfully. What does it cost to work with Canna Advisors? We do not believe there's a one size fits all. Clients are different, their needs are different. Most clients have some things, but not other things. So what we recommend is that you reach out to schedule a free consultation. We'll work with you, understand where you're at in this process, and provide you a quote, a fixed fee quote of exactly what we can do, when you'll have it, and how much it will cost. Email and phone number is on the screen there. So that's our presentation for today. It was an awful lot of information to get crammed into a short period of time, but we understand you're busy professionals and wanted to get this into a concise format for your reference. Look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for joining.